Hello, everyone. My name is Olga. I'm the head of marketing at AppFollow, and I'm very happy to welcome you here today at our joint webinar with Zendesk about all things customer support efficiency. Before we start, I'd like to run through some organizational moments. So the webinar will run for about an hour. We will start with a presentation from PicsArt, and that will be followed by a panel discussion with ourselves, Zendesk and PicsArt, where we will talk about everything from team organization, KPIs to workflows, and how customer support is different for mobile-first companies and for traditional businesses. During the session, you will see polls running during the panel discussion. So please do participate in them. And one more thing before I actually pass my microphone to Martin, who will be moderating the session today, is that please in the chat, if you could write your titles and your positions in companies, that will help us to get to know you a bit better. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them there in the chat. We will try to answer them today. If not, we will follow up with the answers in our email and in a blog post that will follow the event this week. That's it from me. Without further ado, Martin Niermans from Zendesk. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Olga. Hi, everyone. I hope you'll enjoy our webinar. We'd like to kick off first with Vahe, who is going to present to us how he built the customer support team at PicsArt. So, Vahe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Martin, and welcome everyone to this awesome event. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to share some insights, and I'm going to do it with a PPT. Let me just share it just in a second. Can you see that? I think yes. So let me talk a bit about PicsArt and who we are and what we are doing here and what kind of product do we provide. Our case is mostly about B2C market and providing customer support here in this market, but also you will be able to get some insights from B2B operations and also just overall customer support efficiency, hints and tips from our team. Well, first of all, when you go for a customer support, even if you're a small company, a small, startup or an enterprise of a scale, you always have to consider these key points. Your users, what user base do you have, and actually what kind of customer support do you envision? Is it a B2C market? Is it like hundreds of requests or just few of them during the day? What kind of team do you have, and how do you sustain the team? How do you keep them motivated, and how do you ensure that they provide best practice, top quality support to your users? What kind of assets do you have? What kind of software do you use? What kind of hardware do you use as well? But also everything related to software optimizations will go here in this part of the PPT. And also I will talk a bit about the plan. What kind of actions do you have to take on a higher level to get very good customer support in your company? So let me start with us. A brief introduction to PicsArt for whoever who hasn't known us for now. We are one of the #1 creative visual storytelling platform in the world. And we actually have a user base of millions of people, and you can see some numbers here. We can also say that we have something like 1 billion images edited traffic per month. We provide our product, which is both an iOS and Android, a Windows app, and a web platform as well. By the way, you can go and check it out even after this presentation. So we provide the product in 30 languages, even more, I think, for the moment. But this also provides you a hint of what kind of customer support do we aspire for. So just to put it in a nutshell, we have millions of users. which implies thousands of customer support requests daily. We provide our product for multiple platforms, and we are always ready to help our users in any known language because our user base is like worldwide. We provide customer support via around 10 communication channels, but also these channels have their sub channels and also everything which is related to to the peculiarities of the channels, firewalls. Like from one country, you can have a channel which wouldn't work due to the firewall, and then you have to go through a workaround. So you can see this example of an enterprise-like company of ours, and still we are able to sustain an 80+ satisfaction rate with our. Here I can show you the CSAT for May, and I think we always keep it above this line. Let me also bring some insights in order to just briefly introduce you what kind of achievements we have had during this year, for example, and also this will be the introduction to the most interesting part that you will see later in this presentation. So in 2020, let's start with 2019, when we did a large-scale software update, and it allowed us to scale up in this year. So in Q1 of this year, we had like 100,000 tickets. And in Q2, this increased to 170. Was it a 70% workload addition? Yes. We had a 70% more workload in Q2, and we were able actually to cover it. But what is the most important part here is that we covered it without any more team members than in Q1. We added up quality, we added more languages that we support, we provided more customized automatic replies and follow-up messages. And we also, along with this, all what was improved, we also have secured much more detailed data collection for our internal use. I will share some more insights later in this presentation on how you can achieve this, but also let us start with the structure of this PPT, and I'll share some more insights on this, users, team, assets, elements of this customer support setups. So first of all, you have to understand your user. Any product, like if you're a startup or you're a small team, the Silicon Valley garage band, or is it if it's a middle class team or if it's an enterprise? It doesn't matter. You have to start with a certain approach to your product. And when it comes to PicsArt, for example, we always secure that every staff member here owns the product in a sense that we use it. Of course, this is possible in the B2C market when there is a product for a general common market. And B2B might probably be a challenge, but whenever you have the chance, you have to use your product and on a daily basis, basically. This will also allow you to foresee the frustrations and act proactively. When I'm a PicsArt staff member and I'm a team lead here at PicsArt, yes, I can have a kind of image of what problems do our users have and what do they face on a daily basis. But when I go in the evening, I just chill and I open my PicsArt app on my mobile device and I go use it, edit it, post, comment, and like on the platform. This brings me a much deeper insight of the product, and that's what helps me in my job most of all. As a team, as a customer support team, you should go beyond the user's feedback. Well, you can escalate here and now any small kind of frustration and a lag or a bug in an app or solve issues ad hoc. But in order to also kind of scale up your operations, you have to go beyond what is perceived from the first side. You have to fill up the developers' backlogs with suggestions and improvements and feature requests. And this is the core part of working with your user base. In order to see the change, you have to advocate it within the company. Many people We, for example, are 500 plus, I think, for the moment, staff members, and not every person in the company can be aware of every minor detail or any minor, user flow. And you are the one who is responsible for this. You should advocate for it. And when I say advocate, I mean that you should advocate and on and on and on. But this is all just these are just words when you don't have a dedicated, cool team. And the team, of course, the team is core, and human factor is core in customer support. You see this text on the presentation that this is my own view. That there is no real customer service beyond human-to-human interaction. It doesn't mean and it doesn't imply that you don't have to use software and optimizations, but I will briefly describe what I mean here. As I mentioned before, we have like hundreds and thousands of user requests, and you will be surprised that it's handled by 17 people currently. This is the user success team at PicsArt, and even more, around probably 7 people at a time, like during every part of the day. I call it suicide squad in this presentation, and you will see how it may happen in your case, and I will show some insights later on. Let us first of all address this very simple and for me it's a clear truth that there is no help center, no chatbot, no software, no robotic flow that will stop some users from contacting support. But that is not drawback or pitfall, and you should be focusing on you should not be focusing on this, since your goal is not to avoid users or to find workarounds how to handle your workloads, your large workloads if you have them. But your goal is to listen to your users. You want users to contact you. Why do we need the software then? We will address it during the presentation. Let us address the issue of scaling, because this is what the webinar is. How do you scale up in customer support? First of all, you have to ask the right questions to yourself. What do you scale up? It's not about how many users you can support. It's more about how many users you can support better, faster, and in the native language. For instance, when it comes to native language, you can use dynamic canned responses in the language of the requester. We, for example, at PicsArt, we use like 5 languages: it's Russian, English, Spanish, and Chinese and Japanese as core languages. And we provide customer support to all our users through multiple platforms through these languages. But we also cover like 30 plus languages, depending on the channel of the communication. Let's say in App Store reviews, which we, by the way, handle through AppFollow's help. We provide much more customized customer support, and we also use many other languages here. Of course, the language choice always depends on the channel, and it also depends on your target market. Like if it's a B2B, you would probably go for a more customized approach, and maybe sticking to less languages is better. In our case, we'll try to do both more languages and better quality. Second, you should think of decreasing the overall user frustration. If you want to scale up your workload, you have to just resolve the user problems, and that's like simple as that. Identifying most common reasons of user frustrations and acting within the company is key here. And as I mentioned before, advocating, user advocacy is key here. You can have a minor bug, which is like nothing. If you tell it to the developer, he would tell you, okay. But if you have an overall picture of this bug and you have the numbers of how many people experience this problem, you would be able to prioritize this on a company level. You should also, related to the previous point, you should track the trends, because good customer support is data-driven as much as every area of enterprise operations. I can bring in a little example here. I think I've written it down in the PPT. Let's say you have a very little bug or a very little downtime every month during one specific day, let's say first Tuesday of every month, and you will never know that until you look at the data. Okay, that may happen due to some kind of a someone of your colleagues pushing something live on a regular basis according to some kind of a ritual. And if you identify that this happened based on your data, you would be good. You should mind your operations. As a whole, customer service operations is a very new and emergent field of company structures during the recent years, and my recommendation for any kind of a new startup or a small team, but also for big companies, is to have specific people within customer support teams who would deal with operations. And when I tell operations here, I mean everything related to the improvements and overall, help center work, and updating articles, and for example, software administration. You should know that of course you have like DevOps team or system administrators, but this is something different. You have to have specific people within your team who are part of your team, who are handling this organization of the software and workflows within the team. And yeah, but also if you just try it like with one person, I guarantee that you will add up these kind of people within your team. You should have correct workflows, irrespective of the team size. Shifting to tiers-based workflow is a must, in my opinion. You should have a seniority levels and in your team, and also growth logic. Every team member should understand where he goes for, what he aspires for, and what he can expect from the company and from you. You should have an agile spirit within your team. You should deliver all your customer support improvements incrementally, as much as your product team does, I'm sure. And also splitting into focus groups based on the nature of the big part of your incoming volumes. Let's say you can split it up into general requests, tech requests, sales, subscription related requests. Will help you much. I couldn't just avoid to mention this in the scope of everything which happens nowadays. Work-life balance is key, as you all know, but it has become even more evident to us during this COVID lockdown. Customer support is very frustrating. It's a nervous job. Some companies keep psychologists, analysts, and they also provide some kind of psychological help to customer support people. And I think this is very good to have because breakdowns is not what we want to see in our teams. And a happy customer support agent will provide you with happy users at all times. You should be able to prioritize whatever is the unique scope of your team. Let's say there are multiple teams in your company which can address part of the issues that you are handling with, but there are also unique areas of what is under your responsibility only. Only interacting with users, you can, let's say, identify, I don't know, for example, UI inconsistencies on certain devices which are not even available in the region of your, let's say, headquarters. So you should try to limit the scope to where you see the most of the productivity for your team and your company. And finally, we're reaching here to the software assets. And when we tell assets here, we mean all the customer support software, but also all the accompanying software and all these widgets and integrations and custom API-based setups and everything. So I think this is what many of you were expecting when registering for this one. Let me share some insights that we have come up with in our company when dealing with customer support optimizations. Of course, yeah, help center, it's like must for nowadays help. You cannot be surprised if someone has a help center, or because this is something you have to have. You along with help center, what has become a common space nowadays, these are bots, chat bots, and also automatic replying bots. This is also obvious to me, and I think everyone from the industry here. Sometimes you need quite advanced setups, linking your CS software to your internal CRM and everything. For this, you can have developers within your team. But actually, this is also not what I was about to highlight here, because you should not focus on people, and you should not focus your scaling based on hires. What you have to do is AI-based integrations and widgets, correct routing logic based on identified request patterns and keywords. Every ticket should be assigned and routed to the correct person or current group of people in order to act in a correct way. Cross-software data structure consistency. This is what we're trying to ensure at all times. And this is, by the way, one of the most challenging parts, because you don't always have free hands within the company to help you, and you have to just figure out your own. But when you plan this ahead and you know what you're going to do, this is something solvable easily. And also expert administration. You have to have specific people in your team who are experts in software administration. Customer support specialists in your team cannot do hundreds of jobs simultaneously. They have to either talk to the users or set up the flows through which they talk to the users. So you have to have this administration handled by expert people. But there's also a golden key here, and this is what we in PicsArt focus on most. The golden rule is an automation should not detach you from the user. It should increase the quality. Chasing after the automations should not bring you to a point when you automated everything that you could, and you just have no one to speak to, because your main goal, as I said before, is just to listen to your users and get to know them better. And here I will share some more insights specifically on our flows. When I told you that we have like thousands of users, and we are handling it with like 7 people at a time. This is how we do it. Let's look at this as an example of a daily incoming volume lifecycle. Let's say around 2,000 tickets are coming during the day. You also have some kind of a spam detection system that filters out something here. Then you have your CS software. Let's say it may be Zendesk, for example. And let's start with this point. First thing you have to do, first and foremost, is tagging whatever is prioritized. You have to tag everything which you prioritize, and you do not want it to fall under any kind of automation and automatic reply firsthand. Then you reassign, because, for example, in our case, I'm representing the user success team, but we also have several other teams that, helping us with the incoming volumes. And these are dedicated teams handling VIP requests. We have VIP user base, and also safety, trust, privacy and legal requests, which require dedicated agency as well. So you filter it out here, and then you have your remaining volume, where you have numerous, especially when you work with emails as a channel, you have many hundreds of requests that are just 1 or 2 words, or they are very simple questions that can receive very simple answers, and the user will be much more satisfied when he gets an automatic response to that, but it will be faster. So here is where you implement your optimization. What is more important here is the channel that you're using. You see, you can automate your emails based on keywords, based if you have several email channels, that's also very easy to do. But what we are trying to shift to now is web form submissions. They allow much bigger scope of much more up to the point scope of automatic responses and also automatic routing to the specific agent. We are a B2C product operating globally, and our product is subscription based. So we also filter out subscription related tickets at a certain level. Then we have around 700 tickets remaining, of which we have store reviews and returning subscription tickets from yesterday, let's say, the ones who got an automatic response, and also leftover tickets here. You resolve them, you reassign whatever should be reassigned, and then you have the very juice of your incoming volume. I hope I wasn't too long here, and this is pretty much everything that I wanted to cover for today. But let me just add up in the end that the plan is what you as a manager or team lead should focus on first and foremost when it comes to your own responsibility, because there is no specific guideline, and I cannot tell you a recipe that will help your startup or your enterprise. You cannot learn it at university, copycat our practice or anyone else. But what you can do is keep in a backlog, a roadmap, and also you have to be able to align company goals with the individual growth aspirations of your team. You also have to watch the market closely, follow all these integrations and software that are emerging right now. For example, chatbots were not commonplace like 7 years ago, but now everyone goes for chatbots. And if you have some kind of information of how the market operates and what is trendy right now, you will be on the good side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vahe. That was extremely valuable. That was amazing. So we'll just, now we have Nurjan here as well. Nurjan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much, Martin and Vahe. Thanks so much for outstanding presentation. I'm Nurjan. I do customer success in AppFollow. For those of you who are not familiar with the AppFollow, basically, let me quickly explain what our company does. AppFollow is a all-in-one platform for basically anyone who has a mobile app. It could be a developer, indie developer, or any company that has an app. And our platform helps to manage app reviews, promote your app, and get more downloads. As a customer success manager in AppFollow, I work with our key clients. And for today's webinar, I'll be sharing some insights and cases that most of our clients face with. So kind of like hopefully I'll be able to share a few really useful takeaways with you. And yeah, really excited to be here. We have a really good audience as far as I can see from the chat. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Yeah.
Cool, thanks. So I think, Vahe, you've had some amazing insights already. But let's just go back to the start and see, if you have a customer support team, and we're all in growing companies, according to your experiences, what does a support team need in order to be successful and to create a customer service? I've heard you say, Vahe, operations, which I think is excellent because data and operation analytics is always very important. Nurjan, let's start with you.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, the companies we've been working with, what we see so far, and how they basically structure their teams that work with reviews or tickets, usually they have three divisions, or maybe like three key roles or key divisions. The first one is a core support team that basically works with reviews or tickets, including managers that actually help all the agents to achieve their goals. A second one is basically more for mid-sized companies or large companies that basically can afford this. Usually they have a team which is called a customer service tool team or customer service tool managers who actually help that basically core support team to maintain all the technical aspect of their workflow, making sure that all the software that they use, all the third-party integrations are up and running all the time. And lastly, when a company basically gets to that stage when it's large, could be maybe a Series B or Series C startup, or maybe like an enterprise company at some point. Basically, what they introduce is a product education team, and this team is more responsible for comprehensive help center for the users or some, let's say, educational materials.
Wonderful, wonderful. How about you, Vahe? What kind of key roles do you have in your team?
I agree with Nurjan. This is pretty much provides an insight of what we do as well. What I would recommend, apart from this, top to bottom structure for a manager and team leads, let's say you want to split it into several smaller squads. You have to have an analyst, and this is core. As I mentioned in my PPT, you have to be able to provide data-driven insights. What is more important, maybe in terms of user communication with the users, is the quality control flow. Either a dedicated quality control person, or maybe even a dedicated team of quality control. And also make sure you have a senior person who is sticking to your team and is able to coach and guide your newcomers and yourself as a team manager whenever there is the need for this. I think this is it. This is it when it comes to a small startup to start with, and of course when it comes to an enterprise level, everything mentioned above would be part of a larger CS operations team, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the increased volume of tickets and growth of companies, going from startups to scale-ups and more, what besides your strategies, because you had a couple of really good ones, especially on efficiency, correct workflows, help centers and bots. What kind of other strategies would you put in place in order to service the customers to the best of your ability?
As I get your question, this is about KPIs.
No, it's the strategy. The strategy still.
The strategies of.
Yeah. Just as you're growing, you've got the team sorted. What are your strategies to sort of deal with this volume of tickets? I think you've answered a lot of things already, Vahe, in your presentation. How about you, Nurjan?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. Actually, what I liked really, as Vahe mentioned, in his presentation at the very beginning, companies usually, they gradually add more agents, and then it happens actually to some sort of extent. You cannot grow all the time, add more and more people. So basically, what we've seen so far from AppFollow users, they usually take that approach at the very beginning. Usually that's a startup. So they add more agents, and then they try to split responsibilities. And responsibilities could be split by, let's say, a geolocation, language, or maybe a product, if the company have a few mobile apps, for instance. If there is also, I can say, an occasional increase of the tickets or reviews in their workflow, let's say in the mobile world, it's quite often when it happens, release after release, especially if it's a gaming company, it could be a new release and a team can see a large amount of tickets coming. In that case, usually teams are getting prepared prior to release. They just make sure that all the text templates are on place, and they kind of just work hands-on during, let's say, a few days after release has happened. And definitely also what we've seen so far is that companies try to use and implement automatization. Doesn't matter whether the company is large or small. At some point, you just need to do so in order to, to make sure that you spend your team's time and efforts wisely.
Yeah, makes complete sense. Vahe, is there anything you would like to add on that?
Yeah. Actually, agree with Nurjan, of course. And as I mentioned, maybe I didn't elaborate more on this in my PPT. Two things: you have to find a balance between your backlog and your long-term improvement, whatever you set up your goals for yourself or the company goals, but also adjusting to any ever-changing priorities. This is like, this might seem obvious, but you cannot stick to any of this. You should go with a balance and harmony here.
Yeah. And so we also have, for everyone who's watching, we also have polls. And the first poll question we just had was, what support channels do you have? And so far, the winner by far with 75% is still email. And the second runner-up is live chat. So please do fill out these polls because they're quite interesting, and it'll make the discussion a little more vibrant for us as well. Because I think one of the next polls is, and I'm not sure if you're allowed to share that question already, Olga, our marketing lady in the back, but it's about KPIs. And I think with our strategies and our team now in place, we would love to know more on what kind of metrics you feel are absolutely necessary in order to keep that efficiency for your support team. Who would like to answer first? Yeah, go ahead, Vai.
Yeah, sorry. I can start here because I didn't include this in my PPT, and all the time I was expecting this to be the first question to be asked. This is a challenging thing, and it might be different for when it comes to B2B or B2C market. Also, when it comes to the nature of your business, or maybe the company that you are working or contributing to. CSAT is a commonplace, as you know. These are just like surveys, good or bad, and also maybe commentaries from the users. But CSAT might not be helpful at all times. Let's say you have a subscription-based product, and some users might go, not that satisfied, even though they have received like top quality customer support experience. But just due to the nature of the resolution of the request, the CSAT will be lower. And the examples might be like, there may be many more examples like this. What we also use here in PicsArt, time-based metrics, reply rates, first reply, average reply time, and ticket resolution time, and all other kinds of time-based metrics that you can imagine. And maybe something that might be unique for mobile software products like ours is that we evaluate customer team member, effectiveness in terms of how many technical bugs they have escalated, each of them.
Good. And how about you, Nurjan? What do you see with your customers?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking this question. Actually, I really like it. In AppFollow, we are really obsessed about the metrics, KPIs, analytics overall. Same as most of our clients. I really love that. So far, what we see, usually support teams have a following KPIs on the place. Probably the first one I'll start. It's average response time. The second one is the reply rate. And the third one is more like a qualitative metrics, such as CSAT, as Vahe mentioned, or NPS. We've also seen that, if a company has reached, let's say, an advanced level of mobile app reviews management, above all, they have the following KPIs in place as well, such as reply rate for a specific type of reviews. It could be, let's say, a negative review, 1 or 2 star reviews, or a featured reviews. Featured reviews are actually those reviews that you see when you are about to download the app. You can see this carousel with a few top reviews, right? So you kind of like, if you're a user and you're about to download, you usually go through these reviews pretty thoroughly. You read them. And they do also have a reply rate for updated reviews, because usually if there's something happening with on the user side, usually user just comes and updates his review that he or she posted before. Quite often also customer support teams are responsible in building and maintaining feedback loop with their product teams, actually. So there's no say, I've never seen a strict KPI saying how many feedback or reviews should be passed to the product team, but mostly I guess the vast majority of our clients have this as let's say one of the responsibilities of their customer support or customer experience teams.
Yes, that makes complete sense. I don't think there is a metric specific for that yet. But I see that our audience, when they had to pick the top 3 metrics that they track, the number 1 metric is the first response time, which makes sense, but then it wouldn't need to be an automated response, I think. The second is a divided second and third is the average response time and the number of new conversations or reviews to respond to. And then CSAT would be the 4th. So that makes sense. That's exactly what we're saying as well. And what Zendesk also sees with their teams and their customers. So basically now we've got the team in place, we've got the strategies in place, we've got the KPIs in place. What's next? How do you actually make your teams efficient? Now we've heard a couple of things, and it's definitely something that we aim to preach with our customers of Zendesk, is to make sure that you have automation in place to be more efficient, self-service, have knowledge bases. So let's take it one step at a time. When we talk about automation, how would you work with automation and workflows? Like, what would your priorities be? Vahe, would you like to start?
Yeah. First of all, you should, I mentioned this in my presentation, but I'm gonna just elaborate on it more. You do automations to provide better support and not to run away from your users. You have 2 major, sub goals here. This first is the quality. So you provide better quality communication to the users. You faster, more insightful communication to the users. And on the other hand, whatever you provide internally to your company for the sake of, product improvement, and this is data collection. So you do automations to do better communication, and second, to collect data better. Then at least this was the goal for any recent automations for our team recently. When it comes to automations and how do you prioritize them, let's say there are several soft approaches here. First of all, you have to make sure that you keep an automations improvement and optimization improvement backlog, and you go on with an agile approach and incremental approach and testing of these automations. You don't want to run, an automatic reply that will run on a loop and just affect millions of users, and this is very dangerous to do. That is why this has to be handled by software administrators, dedicated people within the team. And also, what you have to make sure, first and foremost, that you have this creative and ready for changes atmosphere within the team. And automation, for example, chatbots, they should not be perceived by people as a way to downgrade the importance of human workforce, or maybe some people might be afraid of automations or optimizations. They might think that their job is becoming useless. That's not the case. That's never the case. So this is maybe also even more important to just have the right atmosphere within your team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an additional tool to keep the work pressure or the workload in case, and it's definitely not a replacement.
Increase the quality and to the speed, but not a robot cannot replace a human. In my opinion,
no.
I appear a kind of an old school person here, but this is more about your values in your customer support processes.
I agree. How about you, Nurjan? What do you see with your customers?
Yeah, definitely what we see so far there is that automation part actually is becoming more popular. And basically in mobile world, when you have a mobile app, like by its nature, usually there are like a lot of reviews that does not contain any sort of like insight or any problem that user is describing. It could be just, let's say, just a short review for mobile app saying like, hey, cool app, I like it, thank you, something like that. And sorting this review manually is pretty time consuming, expensive, and basically doesn't make a lot of sense to do. So that's why automation is really important when you work with app reviews. But I'd actually like to highlight that using automation, let's say for attaching tags, might be a really good example here, because basically like you want to just go through you don't want to go through all the reviews with that feed of the reviews that you see in the mobile app, but you want to quickly navigate and find the most critical ones. And what we see so far that our clients do is that they set up auto tags based on different rules. They AppFollow, what AppFollow does is it actually automatically puts tags for reviews that they want to focus on as a first priority, and then they skip all that other reviews that basically do not highlight any problem. So that's a pretty good example that I like, and the case that I've seen our users implemented so far.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference, I'd say. And what about the we spoke about it very briefly already, but what about the bots? When do you let the bots do the talking, and when do you actually get humans back involved?
Yeah, shall I just?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So basically, a few examples of the effective, and relevant auto replies. In AppFollow, we call that auto replies. So a few smart setups that I've seen that large mobile apps or games implement is basically the following. The first one, probably the 4 or 5-star reviews that no longer than 5-7 words. And what companies do is just they thank their users for that review, and that's pretty much it. A next example that we see is a review contains a tag such as like a bug, doesn't work, crashed, and etc. And usually customer support team or customer experience team just needs some more information. And as all the reviews are public, they just need, and and in the review there's not it's not a chat. So what they usually do is that they just throw that user to another channel. It could be an email, for example. And in this cases, what AppFollow does is just automatically responds, hey, we've noticed your response, please reach out to us to that email, for example. Lastly, it's a good practice to automatically report reviews that violate App Store's comment publishing, comment posting policies, such as, let's say, reviews that contain offensive content or spammy content or maybe just inappropriate. So you can also automate this flow as well. I'd say that also I forgot to mention one of the KPIs that customer support teams have specifically working. I mean, at that advanced level of customer support or customer experience team in mobile, they also have an average app rating as their KPI. And quite often, teams that implement auto replies, they are afraid that the average app rating will decrease if they will, automate things or automate their responses. But so far, what I see, if it's set up properly, even it's sometimes it's the app rating is even growing. We have one mobile, basically a gaming company that actually increased their response rate by 2.3 times, and they also noticed an increase in their app rating as well as a result of short automation testing that they've done with their auto replies.
That's great. I see that the audience when we're talking about the poll is that only 38% actually use bots or automation in their support teams still. So I think there's a huge learning gap and a progress gap there. So I'm hoping this webinar is very interesting for all of you. I'd like to keep sort of 10 minutes max for questions from the audience. You can fill out questions or in the chat, and then we'll be happy to answer all of them, or try to answer at least all of them. All the content will be shared, and I think will be on YouTube, so you can watch it back and even get some extra info as well. So we'll just quickly do the last question, and I'll ask it to Vahe, which is, do you use a knowledge base? And do you feel that makes it more efficient?
Yeah, sure. Of course, we have a knowledge base in the sense of a help center for end users. Um, um, let me elaborate on the help center and its importance. Uh, to be more concrete here on the importance of the right workflow when working with a whole help center, you see that end user facing help center is one of the um, you know core brand your core brand elements, and you just cannot avoid to be very communicative and collaborating when handling help center improvements. From our experience, I can tell you that there is no other, area of our operations within the user success team in PicsArt that we just have to collaborate more within the company, and this is like cross BU talks and alignment and everything. And it nowhere else except the help center. So when it comes to help center, you have to mind your plan it, and also provide documentation and be able to to work with other people. You cannot just do it on your own. But it's also important when it comes to knowledge bases. It's also important to have your intranet within your company, keep it documented, and also just make the, let's say, even the newcomer onboarding easy. And it's also a must. And it doesn't depend on the scale of your company. Let's say if it's a small team or the enterprise, they should go for it for sure. I think I've answered the question, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I think everyone who is watching us, you will be shared this content, the presentation, but also as Zendesk, we are an expert in this kind of software and these kind of things. And we've created a webinar which is called the CX Insider, where agent productivity tips and tricks are there in a virtual session. I would highly recommend you watch that as well. So let's go to questions and see what's happening. We have chats. Well, there are lots of chats. People want to see. Oh yeah, they're in the chats. It's mostly that they want to get your this recording, so that's good news. And then in terms of questions, they're also looking to share presentation. If anyone has any questions, please let it know. You can dial now. We'll just take a minute.
I think we have one question in the chat, and basically that question was, actually I'm on our registrants when they probably signed up to the webinar. So the question was, how do you work with other teams, product tech, etc. Right? Shall we pick that up?
Yeah,
shall we pick that one? Yeah. Yeah. So I guess what I've seen so far for AppFollow clients and how they work with their teams and tech, basically that feedback loop that I've already mentioned between product team and customer experience or customer support team. Quite often it's being done, through the like tags or experts or expert of reviews and conversations that is being sent then to a product team, and then they categorize that and just make their hypothesis, like new hypothesis or fixes or something like that. We'd also see that semantic analysis is getting more and more popular, just to check what the users are talking about. And this usually is being provided sometimes by different tools just out of the box. So no need for CX or CS team to do anything. Product or tech team can just step in, check out the metrics, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, go ahead. Because for Zendesk, it's very similar. Yeah.
Sentiment analysis was very interesting, and also maybe I've missed to mention that when it comes to KPIs, we also base our team metrics on user sentiment, the user emotion, because it's very important to see how happy your user lives. But this is just a reference to the previous issue. And when it comes to cross-BU cooperation, we have product managers, engineering managers, and QA leads, and many others within the company doing regular syncs with our team. And also our team often appears to be, the focus group for any new feature. And we always try to test it before the release. And I think we are one of the most collaborative ones. And that should be a commonplace within the company. You should evaluate your support importance. Yeah, just keep the support team in the loop, and that will be the key to your product success.
Completely agree. Do we have any more questions? Because I don't see any in our webinar thing, and people are starting to slowly log off as well, as we only have 5 minutes left. Oh, I see a question. Did everyone enjoy the webinar?
That's in the chat. There is also one question from John, and I guess
good.
Yeah, Vahe would be a good person, I guess, to answer on that question.
Oh, John, yes. We're a B2B company, a startup. I would like to know how you reward employees in regards to KPIs to improve customer support. KPIs should be rewarded or a common base for the work.
Can you read the first part of the question?
Yes, he would like to know how you reward employees in regards to KPIs to improve customer support.
We have the bonus system, and that's pretty much it. I cannot elaborate more on this publicly, but I can tell you that of course in customer support you have to have this in place because I think I've noticed another question on multitasking, and this is very important to acknowledge that in customer support teams, you don't have a clear set of workload that you are rewarded for, but you always have people ready for adjusting and ready for ever-changing priorities and needs. And yes, you have to be able to meet any increasing loads and everything, and maybe a bonus system would be good for this. But also, I think shifting someone from user communication to operations for a certain period of time to just lessen their this high voltage everyday workload is also an option.
Yeah, and I think what we also always do is celebrate success as a team. So if you make your KPIs, celebrate it as big as you can at that moment, especially in startup world, everything's being celebrated. So I hope that answers your question, John. And then we have one more from Dominic, and he's hoping it's not too specific. But have you considered or tried to implement a kind of hybrid solution to bots? Prepare automatic replies, but have them be reviewed by a human before sending them out. Who has experience with that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can answer. I'll try to answer on that question. Yeah, basically, I've seen that a lot of companies, when they are about to implement this auto replies for their mobile app reviews, that's actually the usual pathway they go through. First, they set up auto replies, and then that auto reply is being actually in AppFollow attached as an answer end from the template, but it's not getting published unless somebody from their team comes and basically press the button and says, all right, that response should be published. So it's kind of like another layer of security at the very beginning, just to make sure that the setup of first auto reply rules is correct. And then once they experiment for a few weeks and they understand, all right, we are now at that point when we can just let that, let it go and make that responses and publishing process being automated, then they just switch that in the settings. So yeah, that's a really good question, Dominic. Thanks for asking that. That's basically how the teams are experimenting this at the very beginning. First, they need a human that will basically go through the auto responses and manually submit the answer, make them published, and then afterwards they automate this flow.
Great. Well, and with that question, that was immediately the last one because it's time. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Special thanks to Vahe and Nurjan for joining us as well and coming up with these brilliant answers. I hope you all found it informative enough. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks so much. I really enjoyed that webinar. Thank you for
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.